Welcome back, everybody, to Urban Odyssey. We're back for week 2 of our collaboration series with Juxtaposition1. So I'll bring him up now and I will let him say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Juxtaposition here. Hope everyone's having a great day. Might want to fasten your seatbelts and grab an adult beverage before Josh hits the Go Pro button. Back to you, Josh.
Thanks. So today we're going to kind of lay the foundation for everything. We'll mention it a lot, and that's why I thought it was a good idea for our second episode. Kind of the first theme, that we're going to look into is just the Bank for International Settlements, but Switzerland kind of as a whole, because you find out once you look at Switzerland, it is really a perfect microcosm of kind of secret societies, world banking, world government, all of it. It's all located in Switzerland, such that the people who have vested interest in those things can easily manage the whole world from one neutral, kind of exempt from everything country. So before we started on air, you were kind of giving me a little bit of the backstory of Switzerland. So why don't you just kind of start with that and give a little recap on what is Switzerland and how it connects to the Savoys?
Okay, well, the Swiss story is well over 1,000 years old. It's older than 1,000 years, but so you could spend years talking about the history of Europe and Switzerland. But if you went on bicycle ride, you'd learn a lot without actually, having to listen to anyone lecture you. You just ride around and you see that you have these mountains, the Alps, and we have the French Alps and the Italian Alps, which are called the Dolomites, and then we have the Swiss Alps. Anyway, you have this place that is set up just like a militarized fort called Switzerland, surrounded by very high mountains, 8,000 feet tall mountains. And this is a natural wall, a protective wall to keep invaders out and keep schemers in. And I can assure you they didn't build the wealth of Switzerland on cuckoo clocks and cheeses from the cows that graze upon the hillsides of those Alps. And anyway, so I don't want to get into the whole minutia about when did Switzerland enter the fray. But if I started, I would say it was with the creation of the Knights Templar, which are soldiers of Christ. And this is where we integrate the Christianity and the apostolic Roman Catholic Church and align it directly with military weaponry of saber swords, bayonets, rifles, spears, cannons, and divisions of men, companies, battalions, troops. And then under the guise of Christianity and missionary work, where have we heard that before? We go to foreign countries outside of our border and we rape and pillage and we set up basilicas and bring in a priest and we set a moral authority which the locals don't understand. And then at a point of a saber sword or bayonet, we baptize the local people into our district, and they do call it a district. They also appoint, besides the parish priest, they will also appoint a governor who will have bank authority. You have a banking governor. You've heard that expression, the governors of the Federal Reserve Bank. There are 7 governors of the Federal Reserve banking system in the United States. There are 13 Federal Reserve Bank headquarters. There are 12 districts. There are 12 banking districts. That comports to 33 is 12, right? How many apostles for Jesus? 12. There were 12 apostles. What did the Holy Catholic Church adopt with Jewish Jewish Christianity. It was called the Apostolic Christianity, Apostolic Roman Catholic Church, Apostolic, based on 12. Well, the board of directors of the Federal Reserve Bank in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, is not a state. It is a maritime law district of Columbia. It is a district, not a state. It's in District 5 of the Hunger Games, but yet it has a life to its own. And this is the headquarters for central authority with a ginormous obelisk called the Washington Monument with a reflection pond and the Lincoln Memorial at the other end. This is an allegiance to Geneva, Switzerland, Swiss Bank Authority. If you didn't know, it is the 13th Federal Reserve Bank, is headquartered in and around the obelisk in Washington, D.C. You will find the same situation in Paris, France, in the Vatican City, in Rome. They have an obelisk in St. Peter's Square where the Pope, delivers his messages. The infallibility of the Pope is demonstrated in front of a Swiss obelisk in St. Peter's Square. You will find this in Istanbul, Turkey. You will find this in Moscow, Russia. You will find this in Hong Kong. You'll find this in Beijing. You'll find this in Hanoi, Vietnam, and formerly Saigon, Vietnam, now Ho Chi Minh City. You will find this everywhere throughout the world where there is a central bank authority. There will be also an obelisk. And the obelisks do appear in Geneva, Switzerland. They have a minimum of 3 obelisks just in Geneva alone. And then they have the headquarters for the Bank for International Settlements, which they built in the 70s, this glass and steel tower that looks dangerously close to an obelisk. And there it is. And it has a Masonic address. And you know how many employees or staff are assigned to the obelisk office tower in Basel, Switzerland, Josh?
33. 33.
Well, 1,300. So that's like a 13.
Well. It's always somewhere.
0. So unity amongst Masons is in the Basel. So I just wanted to tell you that that's kind of where it starts for me, is the establishment of colonialism, imperialism, where you take Christianity, you co-opt it with a military battalion. Then you invade other people's nation under the guise that you are there to save them for eternity and will baptize them into a cult that will take them to a better place. Then you steal all of their gold and silver, farm products. You put up perimeter fences. You install sentries. You create Lion's Gate and cul-de-sacs, all military mapping control grids. You map everything. You survey everything. You bring in geologists and you find out where is valuable goods and services that we can take, and using merchants, and we will have bankers to work with the merchants. We will call them merchant bankers. We will create a church, a baptismal altar, and we will create bankers, merchant bankers, and merchants, and we will give them authority to become dealers in whichever valuable items we can find, using the sheep wool to the farm products to precious metals. And we will take those products away and we will sell them where we have other people in control in France and Germany and the Netherlands and the Dutch and the Spanish. We will take them to Western Europe to be sold for commerce, And the banks 100% finance the Crusades. They 100% pay the salaries of the men with food allowances and status. They wear a Swiss flag on their chest, which is a red background with a white cross. That is the Confederate flag of the 26 cantons of Switzerland, is a red background with a white cross. And the Knights Templar, that's their uniform. And they go all around the world wearing a Swiss uniform. Then, to make it a little sneaky, when people like Sir Francis Drake, want to go out and fly the flag of England, he's running a white sail with a red cross. When the Spanish conquistadors leave Spain to go to South America or Central America to pillage the local Indians, they are flying a white sail with a red cross. Now, we have the Red Cross headquartered in
Mhm.
Geneva, Switzerland, which is supposed to be a humanitarian organization, but it is directly associated with colonialism, imperialism, Christianity at the point of a bayonet throughout Latin America, Central America, California. And so they fly the Swiss flag and they call things New Helvetia, which is New Switzerland, like they did with Johann Sutter in Northern California. And it was Johann Sutter's fort, his lumber mill, his sawmill that discovered gold in Coloma on the American River, which is a part of New Helvetia, 49,000 acres. So Switzerland controlled the gold rush. Switzerland owned the gold. They owned the real estate that the gold was on under a grant deed, which is undoubtedly an illegal document. But the point is, they possessed and controlled the land using soldiers with weapons. And then they eventually partnered with the Union Army after they got a divorce from Mexico, which is no big deal.
So
Continue on.
yeah, so really that was a good introduction. This is whole thing's a business. Everything you said, this is a template that is used universally, and it is all for profit. Uh, Perfect introduction. I was going to go.
It's not for profit.
It's not,
It's for pacification and control. It's not for
but they
profit.
make profit along the way.
They do. Profit only pertains to people that have no money and they're trying to make, better themselves economically. That's how you conscript people and get them to murder other people and steal their property and put fence lines up to do a dirty job that they would normally not do that job for free. They wouldn't
Mhm.
do it for free. How do you make people do dirty jobs like cleaning toilets and cleaning out sewer clogs? How do you make them do it? You pay them. You pay them. You say that's a job. That's a job.
Mhm.
Like Sabrina Wallace says, that's a job. Those are jobs. The reason that they're jobs is because they can't think of another way to make them build weapons and fence lines and techno-enslavement systems. So they create the illusion that you're an independent person and you have a choice to get this job or not. And if you take it and you go to a fancy school, get a PhD, then that promises you a higher paying job in electrical engineering or nanobiology or biosecurity or software engineering, blah, 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 blah. Those are all imperialism, colonialism, fascist guard jobs. As a prison guard job, you're getting a job at the county jail. But they don't call it that. They say you're an electrical engineer, you have a PhD, you're a member of the International Telecommunications Union. And I'll even give you an award. So you have a status and a nice house. That's a form of conscription through bribery, through bribery. That's why it's a job. And that's why there are profits. If you wanted to create a company that specialized in putting weapon systems or control grids together, you will find yourself making profits. If it's congruent with Switzerland, if they want that job done, they will provide unlimited amounts of money for you. But Switzerland doesn't care about profits. They control the board. They
I
own
love.
Park Place and Broadway, right? They already own the whole board. Vermont Avenue, they own everything already. They don't care.
I was going to say makes me think of this. What? Why don't you? How do these terms that we would see associated with either making money or wealth? How would somebody from finance or banking, like, what would they? How would they describe these processes? Like, what would they? What terms would they use?
Well, there's a vernacular for every profession, and there's a tremendous vernacular in the military and tremendous vernacular in banking. But you do know that banking and military are two sides of the same coin. They are the same coin. They're the same thing. One's heads, one's tails. But they're yin and yang. They do depend on each other because banks need to be guarded. Because when citizens rise up and realize that they have an unethical banker on their hands, then the banker lives in fear of being, hung in the town square. So they hide behind their security systems, their cameras, and their armed guards, Brink's armed guards, and later, National Guards and Marines. Donald Trump is a good example of the clown show of, I'm going to send in the Marines to keep order. You're not going to keep order. If you want to set up a prison, that's more restrictive, you can do that. That's all the Marines can do, is to set a perimeter and guard the perimeter. That's all they can do. They can be like My Lai, like the United States Army, and go in and just murder children and women. You can do that too. Or you can just do it without entering the secured perimeter. You drop a bomb or electrify them all or kill them with streetlights, LED weapons, light emitting diode weaponry. You can do that. You can kill people. But as far as law and order, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as law, and there's no such thing as order. There's only techno-enslavement or enslavement by any means possible. But there's no law. There are no judges. There are no courts. And there is no order. There's just people figuring it out how to get food and shelter. That's what we have. Civilization is defined as military control. That's what they would say. Now, bankers are heavily indoctrinated people, so they are fairly clueless. They're just on a submarine that has all the different compartments that are sealed off from each other. And the bankers that are in the torpedo room, they don't know anything about what goes on in the galley or the engine room. They're clueless as to where the steak knives are kept. But the people in the galley know where the steak knives are. And so that's how they've arranged the military, like with a naval submarine. Well, guess how they arrange the Bank for International Settlements, or Bank America, or, Merrill Lynch is part of Bank of America, or Blackstone, or BlackRock, or Chase, Jamie Dimon Chase, or Citigroup. Exactly how the Navy is organizing their ships and submarines. Exactly how the Air Force is organizing their chemtrail delivery vehicles, the KC-10 extenders, the KC-46 Pegasus. All branches of the military are organized precisely how all major banks are set up, in a compartmentalized, need-to-know security clearance knowledge. So when you ask, what would a banker say? Well, it depends which level on the obelisk they are. The higher up, like the president of the World Bank, for
How do they
example,
see money?
they would see it as control. It's a control mechanism. It's one of the best control mechanisms that they've ever created. Is this idea, which they perfected as credit. It is now, money is credit. Money is not silver and gold coins anymore. I mean, they're just about gotten that completely gone.
Greatest alchemical feat.
Credit. It's about your privileges within a society Hunger Game district.
I said it was the greatest alchemical feat of all time to create gold out of nothing, thin air.
Well, because they called it initially, before they had all these branch banks set up, Josh, and we had the Crusades, which took you from really Switzerland or Paris, and took you through Italy to Istanbul, Turkey, then along the Opium Trail through India, and then over to Burma, Myanmar, Hanoi, Vietnam. Is this a trail to bring opium back and other products? They didn't have all their branches set up. They didn't have computers. They didn't have telecommunications, telephones. What they did instead was, you can't be hauling treasure chests of gold coins and silver. It's too heavy. So they would write a letter. It's called a letter of credit with a bank's guarantee. It's if you're the Vatican Bank, it would come with a papal guarantee, papal assurance that this credit amount is good. Then when you eventually get to a district office, you present your letter of credit, then they will convert it into the local currency, whatever it is. It could be Chinese yuan, it could be Japanese yen, it could be pesos, it could be dollars, it could be whatever the coin of the realm is of. It's not really a realm, it's a district, it's a Hunger Game district. Once the conqueror, once the under the guise of a soldier of Christ, once they've secured the perimeter, they will adopt a local currency for those people. And that has a translation to a large piece of paper, letter of credit. And then you can conduct business locally within that district and exploit it, and then bring the products back and get it converted into the local currency from where you next go. You have this translation of the money. And that's what we've had for well over 1,000 years. Letters of credit, and they are typically associated with letters of transit. So this concept of real ID, real ID verification, travel restrictions, that existed over 1,000 years ago. That's not new. That's not new at all. It's new to people who are used to like carrying cash and going wherever they want and spending the money how they want to. But once you can hook it up to the computer network, and the money becomes the node on the network, and we go to a digital currency, and then you link the digital currency to your real ID. Now it's biosecurity currency, and now you as a human being can be given a credit score or an obedience status score within your district. And if you travel outside your district without permission, your score will go to 0 and you'll have no money. And so they can that's called programmable money, but it's also known as programmable matter, because the gas in your car your car won't start. Your friggin' car won't start either.
So we're going to get there. What I first wanted to do is I wanted to just give everybody an idea of literally the sheer scope of stuff that's in Switzerland. So literally everything's there. You have United Nations, world government, basically. Let's have one world government. Let's augment everybody. Let's put everyone into the same system. Programmable credit, programmable money, programmable matter, all of the health and sports stuff.
For government, right?
Yeah. Humanitarian fronts, that's a big one. The Red Cross, as we mentioned. This is all literally located in this one, I'll say it again, neutral.
Geneva.
Yeah. Clandestine groups. You have really notable Masonic lodges. They're the Supreme Administrative Branch of the organization founded by Albert Pike, is in Switzerland.
Geneva Convention.
Yep, the Geneva Convention. League of Nations was originally there. Let's see. The Bilderberg committees have a office there. Leading banks, obviously, that's what we were talking about, and then religious influence.
International Monetary Fund is there.
Mm-hmm. We also remember the Pope has Swiss guards.
Farming, soil, who plants what, farms, genetically modified seed is there.
Yeah.
Monsanto is there. Monsanto's in Basel, Switzerland, also. But essentially, genetically modified food policies are decided in Geneva, Switzerland, by the United Nations, and everything to do with military operations for NATO is decided in Geneva, Switzerland. So you have absolute power in Geneva, Switzerland, using their banks, which have offices in Basel and Zurich and Zug and Bern and Lugano. But everything policy-wise, directive-wise, would be promulgated out of Geneva, Switzerland, which is French speaking. All the other cantons speak German or Italian and German. But Geneva is like Paris, France. It's French.
That's interesting. So these were the images that you provided, which I appreciate. Those are really nice. This is the red. It says Bank of International Settlements suspended.
Yes, and that's a big fat lie that you're showing there that I sent you to show. I wanted to show you how fraudulent that map is.
Explain.
Okay.
Go ahead.
They're saying blue is membership to the International Monetary Fund. That you're a voluntary member of the Central Bank Authority for the World in Switzerland is the blue. Then they have that region there that's like communist Russia. Notice China got painted over with blue, and that's a bald-faced lie. 100% of everything on the screen should be blue. They control the North Pole, the South Pole, the archipelagos everywhere in the world. They control all of Africa, 100% of Africa. So there is nothing other than the color blue. There's
Well,
no red in real life.
be-
In real life.
because even if somehow like somebody could present themselves as if, oh, we're not a member, all of these other groups that they have access to are
And do
able
business
to, yeah,
through merchant banking, through
exactly,
merchant exchange. So look, if you're not a member of Switzerland, you can't get paid.
yeah, through all these organizations that they are just, within, how long, what was it that you said, how long are these from each other? About an hour, couple hours from each other?
Well, mostly they're within 60 minutes and 60, where they're within like 55 miles of each other. But
That's
the thing is that Geneva is set back, a little further. Geneva is closer to France. It's kind of the one that's closer to the Treaty of Versailles. You know that all the policies would settle all these wars, they're all approved in Switzerland, but they deliberately on purpose have the Hague and they have the Treaty of Versailles and they have these, branch fake colonies, which are colonies of Switzerland. France is a colony of Switzerland. America is owned by Switzerland. Mexico is owned by Switzerland. Canada is owned by Switzerland. Australia is owned by Switzerland. But we want to pretend they're independent sovereign nations, which they're not. They're all insolvent and they're dependent on central bank funding. So then they'll say, well, we'll have a peace conference in your capital, or we'll have a banking meeting in Sydney, Australia. They could have that meeting in Geneva. Don't they have the the conference ski trip in Switzerland?
yeah,
Yeah, Davos is in Switzerland. But they have everything else outside of Switzerland to create the illusion that other countries are deciding. Other countries have no authority at all. That's a show. That's theater. And you brought up something there. What back with that map?
back.
Is that go show that map again. I wanted to
Here
tell
you
you
go.
that you brought me back to 1980, 81, 82, and 83, where I was auditing Bank of America, and I learned the vernacular of the military acronym of Bank of America, which is highly compartmentalized like a submarine. And when you talk about putting a map up of your affiliate branches, one of the vocabulary terminologies is this a bank owned subsidiary or is this an affiliate bank subsidiary entity? Because they have this thing called subsidiary bank owned, then they have subsidiary affiliate owned. What the heck is the difference between an affiliate and bank owned? So if Bank of America wanted to buy the Bank of Oman, which by the way, they did, you do know that all these banks own all the banks in the whole world. So there's no such thing as I'm a small bank, I'm independent. No, you're a correspondent bank. You don't need to be a member of the Bank for International Settlements in Switzerland to be a member of the Bank for International Settlements in Switzerland. In other words, if Bank of America owns 1% of your bank, Bank of America is a member of BIS. So that means so are you.
Indeed,
Through your affiliation, you took money from a BIS sanctioned branch bank. And if you took money from them, you are beholden to them. And Bank of America's rule was if B of A owned less than 50% of Bank of Oman or the Bank of Israel or some small bank in a small African country, for example, it was considered to be an affiliate bank. If they own 50% or more, they consider it a subsidiary bank. Whether it's wholly owned or partially owned does not matter. So long as they own just one share of stock of any lesser bank throughout the world, much smaller with less lending authority. And see, that's how banks function on their lending authority, which
yeah.
can only come from Switzerland. Switzerland gives the authority to lend money throughout all the world, the whole world. And
Especially if all central banks are a part of the Bank for International Settlements, and even if if you want to be able to deal in currency, that works.
yeah, well, otherwise you're in barter and exchange
Exactly.
territory.
Yeah.
which will be mostly outlawed internationally. It'll be considered international felony crime to engage in outside of the banking system. And everyone right now, today, as we do this video, 100% of all banks in the world are controlled out of Basel, Switzerland Bank for International Settlements through hook or crook, whether they're an affiliate that's owned by, that they are partially owned, minority, that they have a minority ownership in a bigger bank that is a member, then they, by de facto, through a papal decree, it's like a papal decree. It's a declaration that they are subject to the laws for Bank for International Settlements, which is beholden to Geneva, Switzerland anthropology and eugenics programs for the entire world. Such is one world global governance.
So this you just said reminded me. I wanted to make sure that I read this. You said you sent to me similar to the United Nations, the IRC, RCM, International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement, or the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
Right.
The Bank of International Settlements has a special status. Employees in the financial sector are granted immunity and may not be searched. The building and all its parts also play a crucial or special role. The building and grounds are treated similarly to an embassy and are invulnerable. That's the Swiss usage of the word, or inviolable, German usage of the word. It is part of the Swiss territory, but national sovereignty can only be enforced to a limited extent. Swiss authorities have access only if the president or CEO of the Bank of International Settlements grants permission and waives the principle of territorial inviolability. The circumstance is often colloquially referred to in the press as extraterritorial status, which is somewhat simplified but not entirely legally correct. This special status is governed by an agreement which entered into force on January 1st, 1987, between the Bank of International Settlements and the Swiss Federal Council. The agreement has its origins in an agreement concluded at the Hague Conference on January 20th, 1930. Access by Swiss authorities, including the police, requires the authorization of the president or general manager of the Bank of International Settlements. In my mind, it sounds like the bank is the one that runs that country.
Of course.
That's like literally, there's no really no way.
That's who runs Donald Trump.
Yeah.
There's no president. There's no King Charles doesn't run the United Kingdom. Switzerland does. And Henry VIII didn't run England either. Okay. So Sir Francis Drake, he's flying a Swiss flag. Sir Francis Drake is flying a Swiss flag when he came out to California, Point Reyes and Drake's Bay. We renamed it Drake's Bay on Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. He's flying a red cross against a white sail like he's a Spanish conquistador, but he's not from Spain. He's from England, but he flies the exact same flag that Spain does. So Spain and England are two colonies belonging to Switzerland. The Swiss flag is a red canton with a white flag, but you'll notice that the Red Cross, which is the inversion of that, is also headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. And that's the flag that they have Spain and England flying under, is the Red Cross flag.
We'll get to that because I got an image of that. The papal infallibility, that was a big point that I like. The whole thing works on that.
The policy that you just read concerning the Bank for International Settlements being like an embassy, like its own sovereign state, and that the police cannot search and seize the people that work there, that's the policy of the Vatican in Rome. That's the policy of the infallibility of the Pope. That's the policy that you are not allowed to question or investigate decision making that occurs within that sovereign ground, the grounds around the Vatican, the walled city, and the Vatican essentially is modeled after the tower in Switzerland, which I'll give you the address of where it's located. It's at Central Bank Plaza, number 2. You should know that number 2 is 11. You should know 11. There are 12 apostles. We discussed that earlier. There are 12 Hunger Game districts in America. right? And then Judas from Iscariot, he betrayed Jesus by giving him the kiss of death in a public place, identifying and verifying his ID, because Jesus got a verified real ID when he was kissed by Judas in a public square to identify him as a person of interest. This is Judas betraying Jesus. Now, that meant that we don't have 12 apostles anymore. As soon as Judas kisses Jesus, he is being tossed out of the Apostolic Catholic Church, right? The
Apostolic.
Apostolic Catholic Church. We now have 11. We have 11 apostles, right? And what is the address for the Bank of International Settlements Tower? It's number 11. It's called number 2 Central Plaza. And what is the addresses of all the Pelosi houses? 11. Number 2 Zinfandel Lane in St. Helena with their gated home with an obelisk on their driveway. That's number 2. That's an 11. Their home where the hammer attack did not happen, but where they live at 2720 Pacific Avenue, Pacific Heights, San Francisco. 2720 adds up to 11, the number of apostles after Judas betrayed Jesus. That's the Pelosi's home. He's Jesuit indoctrinated at St. Ignatius de Loyola High School, for crying out loud. That's where he went to high school until he was unceremoniously asked to leave because he murdered his brother. That's a story for another video. Anyway, Paul Pelosi at age 16 was booted out of St. Ignatius High School, which is Jesuit. But he's living today in a number 11 home where there was no hammer attack. The hammer attack happened at 2640 Broadway, which is a 12, which is the number of apostles before Judas betrayed Jesus, was 12. That was the home the hammer attack happened. That's for Nancy Pelosi's federal paid security detail live in that house. So, of course, if you're going to have a hammer attack, you'd have it in a home with over 13 surveillance cameras and federal armed guards in a controlled setting so that you can stage a hoax styrofoam hammer attack. You would have it surrounded by professionally trained soldiers. That's where the hammer attack happened. Didn't happen in their house. They live a block up the hill at a number 11. Remember, they only live in number 11 houses, not number 12 houses. All right, go ahead, Josh.
Well, now we're just kind of going through some of these pictures, and this is the exterior.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yes, and it looks like something familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but let's see. I got it down here.
Google it. You do ground street level, you'll be restricted. It won't show you 360 degrees.
Interesting.
You can't actually, on the Google Maps, you can't surveil that building very well. And there are very few places that you can see the building. Well, I mean, there's a little, like, you have to find a park to look back at it, but it's got a narrow street on two of the four corners. It's kind of on an octagonal type block, and it's very high security. There's cameras everywhere. Allegedly, there are 1,300 employees that work in and around this building here. You should know they have another building that is not famous. It's very boring looking. It's not architecturally interesting. And that this was one of the buildings that they do business in. This is kind of the other building they have. And they'll do backroom operations over here. And I'm sure they have different levels of authority within the Bank for International Settlements. And then I have a photograph somewhere, I believe, of the Savoy Hotel where they originally were. Let's see here. Oh, that's Hong Kong. That's their building in Hong Kong, because they are an international cult. It's an international cult.
Is it that one?
Oh, this is a new building that they've got. So I guess the one that's not so interesting, and I think that's the hotel that is the House of Savoy built. The House of Savoy is the family legacy that led to the Knights Templar and created Monaco, the Principality of Monaco, Monte Carlo, the Principality of San Remo, Torino or Turin, so the island of Sardinia, and northern Italy, France, Maritime Alps, is the House of Savoy. It was in France and Italy, and it's the House of Savoy who united the Civil War Italy in 1870, the House of Savoy, whose family emblem is the Swiss flag of the 26 cantons of Switzerland. In other words, the red canton with the white cross, that is the emblem for the House of Savoy, who owns that building right there that the BIS rented. They rented that. They rented their space from the House of Savoy.
Here, I got it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Savoy flag. There we go.
All right. See, these are all little different variations of the same thing. This is Switzerland. You're looking at Switzerland. And they modify this, and they have their subsidiary entities fly these flags. And, just go follow colonialism throughout the world, follow imperialism, follow it into the Caribbean, follow it to Hanoi, follow it to Burma, follow it to Istanbul, Turkey, follow it to Cairo. It'll take you everywhere around the world under maritime law. They all function under the same international code of conduct, maritime law, and all the courts that are established throughout the world, they all pledge their allegiance to this flag. You'll see it today with the American flag. The American flag has 13 stripes. The American flag is another version of the Swiss flag. So, don't celebrate the 4th of July and don't celebrate standing for and pledging your allegiance, which is the relationship between a slave and an owner, is your allegiance. Do you want to be owned by Switzerland? Look at the United Kingdom. It's basically, it's a Swiss flag on steroids, or LSD, which is a Swiss product. LSD was created in Switzerland.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a psychedelic product created in Basel, Switzerland at the Sandoz Lab. Walking distance from that Bank International Settlement building is the Sandoz land. That's home to Novartis. Sandoz and Novartis are the same company. Sandoz was bought by Novartis. Novartis also bought Chiron, which bought Cetus, which brought you the PCR test. So you got essentially Basel, Switzerland controls COVID. They control pharmacy. They control data, DNA collections. And of course, they control gene editing, gene modification in Zug, Switzerland, using CRISPR therapeutics and crypto encrypted currency. Cryptocurrency is controlled in Switzerland. Crypto is Swiss. They control all gold systems, all money credit systems have control headquarters located in Zug or Basel or Zurich or Geneva, Switzerland. All right, go ahead and show your flow chart there of the Knights Templar and the Grand Master and Propaganda Due and the Jesuits, and go on.
Yeah, honestly, this is from the Deep State Mapping Project, which actually, I have an affiliate link. So if anybody is interested in their own copies of these, they got plenty of things. That'll be in the description. But this actually just gives you a lot of just things to search. I mean, you'll look on this and you see Switzerland is at the middle of it all. And it truly is at the middle of everything.
We call that in bicycling, we call that in motorcycle racing.
What?
They call hub and spoke. That's how Amazon is set up. That's how UPS is set up. Hub and spoke model. Everything emanates from central authority, which is the hub, because your wheel, your spokes don't matter if you can't connect it to a centralized axle. So the axis of how our money system works is centered with Switzerland being the axle hub.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, actually, because like I said, really with everything so important being in such a small vicinity, the way that I'm looking at it, and what I'm really trying to stress is that if you wanted to administrate the world, all of the occult secret societies, the things going on, that you don't know about, the secrets, the crime, the underbelly, you're going to need some central location where you have access to all of these different commands and shot callers, if you will. And so, really, there's no other place in the world where there's so much Masonic, Catholic, Protestant, NGO, foundation, charity, Red Cross. Like, no other place in the world can you be that close to people who are making decisions. This is another good one. You have Switzerland right here, Bank of International Settlements, UBS, Credit Suisse, World Health Organization. All of these are connected fundamentally through Switzerland to a great degree. So one thing I wanted to kind of touch on now is how exactly would, like, how does this chain of command work? How would an event here, just somewhere, like, let's just say something happening in the United States, how would that be kind of, how would force or strength be exerted on something going on here? How would they step in and say, hey, that's not going to happen, or hey, we need this to happen? What is the mechanism for it, kind of?
Well, it's bank authority, and bank authority can express itself in a number of ways. But to oversimplify, take your water spigot in your kitchen or bathroom. You just turn the spigot on to have a flow of currency, a flow of water. Everything's maritime. So, and money is fungible and it flows. And when you turn the water on full, then it's like a fire hose comes out real strong, or you can back it off, or you can turn it off. And when you turn it off, you stop the currency, right? So if you want to have a war or a battle or a terrorist attack, you've got to turn the spigot on sufficient enough to pay the bills for the weapons to be used and the operators to use the weapons, or the soldiers needed, or the crisis actors. And that would be the budget for that operation. You'd put together a budget, and then you'd open the spigot. You generally don't give all the money, at one time. The spigot is a flow. It's a cash flow.
Mhm.
It flows. And so it's a pay-as-you-go system, Josh. That's the control. Because if you want them to do 9/11, somebody's got to do some pre-planning. They've got to wire the buildings. They've got to set up observation decks somewhere they can videotape. All these events are typically documented.
Mhm.
The media doesn't show you. They probably don't have access to all of the videos that are done by spies, by clandestine agents who have the videos set up in advance, have the cameras set up. But anyway, that you have pre-planning, and then you would pay for that. And then you're ready for the demolition people. So you have to decide what type of explosives are going to be used. Do we plant them in the building or on the ship or in the airplane? Or do we deliver them in the form of a missile or direct energy weaponry, like a light photonic beam or a sound beam or an electromagnetic frequency wave or a pause pulsing tsunami of electromagnetic resonance? As Dave Gregg from the Department of Energy taught me, there are many chips in the potato bag, glazed potato chips, not just one. So you have to be specific. What exactly did you want the outcome? What collateral damage do you tolerate? What is your tolerance level? When did you want it done by? How quickly do you want the operation to go? Do you want it to be extended, weeks, months? Like COVID, years. I mean, we're still in COVID. They've never declared that it's over. So I'm assuming we're still under the COVID emergency hoax, and just we don't talk about it anymore. But I mean, that's like an ongoing emergency. And there are other 10,000 emergencies that we can still declare. There's no shortage of creating hoax emergencies.
Medical tyranny.
And so what you do is you sit in a conference room with no windows, and you talk to the heads of all of the weaponized areas who are specialists in the various weaponry, because the people that do the photonics generally are not working with sound. And the sonic people, they're not working with electromagnetic magnetic frequency. And the people who deploy the weapons, using jet airplanes or cars or sheriff's SUVs, because you can deploy these weapons from cars and from drones and from jets and turboprop planes and helicopters. You can do it from any place, not just a cell tower, not just a satellite above, not just a jet or a plane. They have full spectrum. Also from the ground below you. They have wired much of the ground underneath military bases, and they have underground facilities that generate, weaponry resonance. So it's below us, it's above us, it's on our level, it's everywhere. So it's full spectrum. And once you have the meeting of what you want it to look like after you're done, then you have breakout sessions, and these people who work with different specialties will collaborate at a high security clearance. These are the highest of the high. So most of their people don't even know what they're doing in this conference. And they'll put together plan A, plan B, plan C. Then they come back and we reconvene the meeting. And we say, we understood that this is what you wanted to do. This is how much time you gave us. This is the general budget to do it. This is these A, B, C, choose. These fit your requirements. They'll get the job done. They're different, but they're all similar in terms of getting the job done. So you can pick. And if there's any problems with any of them, we have a backup and a backup, and all plans have they all have backup ABC plans too. So there's no chance of failure. It may be a glitch. There will be probably a glitch, but it will be overcome by a backup insurance program to fix the problem, to fix the glitch, as they say in the trade, that we fixed the glitch. Like when you go to lay off an employee, but they keep coming back to the office and sitting in the cubicle. So then you bring in a consultant, they say, oh yeah, Myron, yeah, he's been here for 10 years. Yeah, but we in the records in his personnel, we laid him off 3 years ago. Oh yeah, right. But he's still coming in. Oh, really? Yeah, that must be a glitch. Well, we fixed it. We disabled the paymaster, so he will not be getting a paycheck anymore. They go, well, did you tell Marvin that he's not getting a paycheck? No, we prefer not to confront. We don't like to be confrontational, but we feel that the problem will just work itself out once he no longer receives a paycheck.
Yeah, that's so. What I was kind of thinking of, it made kind of made sense. I'm going to use this as an example, but this is a higher kind of level. You know how the president has like a cabinet of people who do this. This guy does this. His job is this. So if we imagine actually Switzerland being kind of like the administrating center or the executive area, they're basically in the same area with all of the, like the World Health Organization, the Red Cross, the Masonic Lodge. They have all of these different top level organizations, and that's kind of like the executive board in Switzerland. And then through those groups, such as a certain, like an executive office, those groups would then disseminate, as you said, throughout the rest of the world. Kind of. Does that make sense?
Yes, except for the fact that you used the American
I know you were going to say that.
form. That there is no Trump, and there is
I
no administration, and there is
I
no
use it
Congress.
as an example. Like,
Those are just like actor clowns that
well, you
go
would
through the
use administration either way.
all the decisions are already made, and then they all receive their like cue card talking points. So they just read it, just like Brad Pitt. They're like Brad Pitt. They give you the script and they hear your lines. That's Chuck Schumer. That's Bernie Sanders. They're Brad Pitt.
Point being is, like, if you are going to manage something, you need all of the people who manage it in one location, and then you give your orders to those people, and then they will send it down their respective food chain. That's what I mean.
Well, no, actually, see that system went away a long time ago, but we're pretending that there's no America. Okay, there's no America, and there's
I mean from
no
Switzerland.
Department of Defense. There's no Pentagon. There's no Pentagon. There's actually really no CIA in Virginia either, in McLean, Virginia. If you bulldozed McLean, Virginia, and shut down the CIA, and you bulldozed the White House, and you
Don't get
demo
people's hopes up.
the building, not a damn, you wouldn't notice a millimeter's worth of difference. In other words, they're not governing the United States of America. We don't operate under a constitution or any constitutional laws. We operate under maritime procedural laws, which are all decided in Geneva, Switzerland.
Well,
So
that's what I was getting at. What I mean is, like, let's say to run the world, you need to get orders down the Masonic food chain. You need to get orders down this World Health Organization food chain. You need to get orders down the Red Cross so that they can get what they need to do.
yeah,
So
just so
it's
long as you know, the White House, Donald Trump, and the Congress of the United States, they're not part of the chain of command.
well,
So
I'm using
go
that
right,
just so
go
people
right
understand.
around them. They go around them. They don't even. That's like, you're slowing us down. We'll just go direct. They go to the soldiers, the boots on the ground in the field. It goes from the central authority to the boots on the ground, and everything in between is a charade. It's just a game of charades. Believe me, they are not
That
depending on,
that
oh,
was
they're going to have
my,
an executive
like,
meeting and think about what to do.
I honestly, like, I was just kind of using that because it was the only way I could put it into words. But yeah, like, all of these places you would need to disseminate those
Yes,
orders exist in Switzerland. That
absolutely,
that
100%.
was the point
And
that
they
I
have
made.
for 1,000 years.
So more or
It
less
just
what I was saying
better
was,
now because we have the telecommunications business
yeah,
has improved, the communication or the
yes,
directive that you could give a command and expect it to be executed, quickly,
hmm,
like within 10 seconds. So in the old days, with the clipper ships and it might take a month, 6 months, a year to get the information from California back to Basel, Switzerland regarding Johann Sutter. Could take a while, but he has his orders and he has his authority, which he must stay within his authority. He has an authority of killing people, of building things, of creating, the water system, the irrigation system, and the policies over the indigenous people. He has that authority, and they don't need to know what he's doing. I mean, they get reconnaissance information back. It may take a year to get it, but if they don't like what he's doing, then they'll dispatch the messenger back and say, "Hey, knock it off. You're
hmm,
they're going to terminate because they can terminate his command. They can terminate your command. Do you think they can get rid of a branch bank president or the head of the bank or the head, Jamie Dimon of Chase? Do you think he couldn't be fired? Of course they can fire him. So long as he obeys his orders and operates within his authority, his credit, he can keep his job. And if he becomes an embarrassment, if he becomes disobedient, he'll be replaced. That's
yeah,
it. And today that can be done quickly. So this idea of having these pseudo command centers along the chain of command is kind of getting ridiculous, because to me, it's just going to be level 33 at the top, and then all the schmucks at the bottom, level 1, who are in the cult but have no authority and don't go to meetings, that they just, like a Marine, like United States Marine, they're like Labradors. You give them a command, they want to please their master, they do what they're told. Go into the village and kill everybody because I said so. Yes, sir.
hmm,
That's what
just
they want.
following orders.
Robots, and you don't even need the level 1. You could just use the robots, because the robot's not going to sass you.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
talk
that's what
back.
I was about to say. Now, this whole thing, like, that is a fair point. With all of the augmentation and stuff that's going on, the whole thing is basically they're quickly reducing the chain of command down to,
Fewer levels within the chain of command. I don't think we need 33 levels.
yeah.
Absolutely not. Not today. And also you can do an algorithm where you give that authority that Jamie Dimon has of
Yes.
Chase Manhattan.
Yes.
You could write an algorithm to the HAL 9000 for that bank, and that just he does it. The
That's
HAL makes what's called autonomous.
Yes.
in-field decisions about all the which would be all the branch banks, which will all be real ID, eyeball recognition. That's what Chase is going to. And by the way, that's what everyone's going to. They're rolling it out this month, December, in Manhattan, New York, with their new Chase building, which is across the street from the Blackstone building, where we had 5 people killed by a shooter, including the shooter who allegedly killed himself on the 33rd floor. Yeah, right. Okay, whatever. So a building across the street from there is the Chase building, which is they're putting 14,000 people in there in the next 2 months. And they all have to have eyeball recognition, real ID verified, or they cannot enter the building. So now, and he was very quick to say it only applies to the Manhattan new building, not to the other, thousands of offices that we have all around America. Yeah, that's a lie. Of course, once they work out the bugs in New York, in Manhattan, that will become the standard policy throughout Chase, Manhattan, Morgan Stanley. Everyone 100% eyeball recognition. And if you don't have that, your paycheck will be disabled.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm really looking to see it go past eyeball within the next 1 to 2 years, maybe sooner.
It's going to be a biosecurity, real ID, bone marrow.
And I think really the first kind of, I mean, this is very debatable, but like the first major like shake up of the bag, domino to fall is when they're going to say anyone, elderly people on Social Security.
Yeah, you must be verified.
Yeah, that's when people are really going to, I think, I don't know if it'll be panic. I don't know how it will play out, but people are probably really going to either see firsthand or somebody that they know. And then that's when people are going to start to see that they're kind of being led to the slaughterhouse.
Right. It's way too late. That'll be way.
Unfortunately,
was 4 years ago. It's too late now. So they haven't done that yet, that draconian, but they have sort of. They say you can't get on a plane without a real ID, eyeball recognition today. You can't get a domestic flight to go to Cleveland, Ohio without a real ID. So if that's true, then we're already past that. That's already happened in terms of travel restrictions. That's happened. So now if you don't like that policy, you have to drive. Okay, but it won't be long before you won't be able to drive past 15 minutes because you'll be at a checkpoint Charlie, when you go to the gas station and your debit card won't work. And that's because they can do that now. They can program in. They know where they send your bank statement, and they know where your debit card is associated with that bank statement, and they know what that zip code and street address is. Then they go 15 minutes from that, and everything around the secured perimeter, 15 minutes, they can say your card won't work other than within the 15 minutes. They can do that today without eyeball recognition.
One thing I was going to say that was interesting was that, let's see if I can find it and just play the little clip. This was interesting. Everyone who's got like a new car, it's got geo-fencing and geo-timing. Here, I'll play this little clip.
Government's remote control of car use installed on my car with no informed consent. I bought a Hyundai Kona EV 18 months ago, 71 plate, from a dealer. The car went in for a maps upgrade and came back as a write-off for me. They took the opportunity to upgrade the Blue Link infotainment software, and when I started it up, I was presented with a new screen saying terms and conditions changed. I was bored that day, so I flicked down a few pages and was about to jump out when I read it was now equipped with geo-fencing and geo-timing capabilities. We're talking about anything with an SOS button. My wife's car is a 2016. They can set range limits and time limits remotely. The terms say it's not used without consent unless required by law. The last sentence voids the whole thing.
Right. Well, there's no laws, so they can do whatever they want.
But the point being is one day you're going to find out that you can't go past a certain limit, or you can't drive your car because you're going to have to save.
I wouldn't be buying a new car. Don't buy a new car because it's like a throwaway. Because your car's not going to be worth anything. I mean, you might as well just walk. If it's a 15 grid, ride a bicycle. Then you don't have to pay. Just get a bike or walk.
You understand, but people think that's all conspiracy theories.
Right, of course. And as in the words of PhD brainiac David Gregg, with over 300 patents with his name on it for the Department of Energy, he said, everything that's important in the world that we live in is a conspiracy. In other words, it involves a felony crime with more than two people involved in planning the felony crime. 100% of everything important. So what does that leave out? Non-conspiracy conspiracies? Who cares? I only care about things like travel restrictions,
Yeah.
freedom, liberty. Those are conspiracies but they're not theories. They're operations and they're policy directives. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that there's really no such thing as conspiracy theory. There's only reality land or
Well,
denial land.
I call it I because of that I call it coincidence theorists now.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's true. It's basically what you said reminded me of what George Carlin also said. When two people have interests that align, there's always going to be a conspiracy. It's like if we both have something to gain, we're just
Well,
natural.
the definition should be, though, it has to be a crime.
Okay.
Because if you're just conspiring, look, I've been involved in hundreds of conspiracies, okay? Every time I raced my bicycle, I was engaged in multiple conspiracies, okay, with other people in my race who were not on my team, So you wouldn't even know that I got a side deal with someone else. That's, if you race at Cat 1 level, Cat 1, Cat 2 level, if you don't participate in conspiracies, you're never going to get any money. You're never going to win a prize, ever. All the people that take all the prizes are very experienced in conspiracies. 100%, 100%. That's not even professional. That's amateur level. So when you go and you start introducing hundreds of millions of dollars, you think people aren't going to scheme on how to get the money? I mean, no, they're just going to, well, let the best man win. Are you out of your mind?
That's what coincidence theorists believe.
Yeah, well, they're not running the show. They're not running our world. Okay.
So here's an interesting thing.
Deliberate results on purpose.
You know how like they say like you have a respiration rate, respiration like having to do with breathing. If I'm going to inspire you to give you an idea to do something, to inspire, to breathe into,
to
but
higher level.
To conspire means with. Con means with. So to breathe, to kind of,
it's a secret plot. You don't advertise it.
Yeah, and that whole idea, that connection to respiration, is to breathe life into something, like your spirit. To give you an idea is to kind of animate an idea in your mind. It is a life energy, and so to conspire, to get together to create something or to do something, if you really break it down. So I'm saying I don't know if I necessarily, like, I think you can conspire without technically being like doing something bad.
Right. But it's not really the same thing, because people think of conspiracies like blowing up a building.
Yeah.
Those are conspiracy crimes.
Yeah.
Because when the district attorney, if they were ever to arrest someone, even the wrong person, they would have, conspiracy to murder someone. And then they would have the killer who killed, that would be murder. And then the person who conspired or paid the killer, contract killing, he's going to be guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and to solicit murder. So you have different levels of the conspiracy, but all the parties are involved in a secret plot to kill somebody, but only one person maybe did it, or a team did it. But the sponsor, and which is going to take us back to Switzerland, because I guarantee you somewhere along that chain of command is going to be a financial organization that's going to provide the money to enable the murder. If it's a professional, that's what a professional killing is, meaning people get paid to follow orders and the job gets done, or the house gets painted. In the mafia, they call it that they painted the house, that the house is painted, the job is done.
Oh, that reminds me. I believe if you look in the city of London, they're drapers. You ever heard of the Drapers Guild?
No, I haven't, but it's probably an association of people who do window coverings.
Well,
and other things.
what happens is like when you start to look into it, they appear in like these weird places. Like, why are that? What is a draper? There's no real definition, and the idea
Yeah,
is they're the guys that are the fixers, so they come in and put the drapes up, make it look nice.
sure,
That's
sure. That's
it was
another play on words.
well, it's like they always have some type of um, password or way to talk about it out in the open. That is why I
Occultism. That's occultism. That's what your bailiwick is.
indeed, yeah, and symbols are big, but to a
Huge. They're all
degree.
secret encoded messages for those in the know. They're
Mhm.
not for people not in the know. That's why this channel that you're doing is it's like kryptonite to Superman. It's like, no, he's telling the tricks. That's the whole magic castle idea of it. We never tell the mechanics of a magic trick, because then you spoil it for all the magicians who want to present that trick. You may have ruined the magic
Well,
by telling people how you pull a bunny rabbit out of a hat.
that's why you got to remember.
It's a code of omerta. We don't say that.
Well, when you figure it out, you have to remember to pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So remember to forget.
Remember to forget. What's the apocalyptic? No, apostolic. All right, I want to review the apostolic just really briefly with you. But
Okay.
this is this concept of Christianity, of revolving around Jesus having 12 apostles, and we created a Christian church that is apostolic, and they have spiritual leaders, and examples of spiritual leaders are apostles. And apostles are like missionaries. They're like missionaries. They want to convert people to Christianity, is what an apostle of Jesus is. Also, they go by the name of prophets to tell the story of Jesus. And
Apostle means you were picked to appoint to an apostle. It means that they had to have been picked for a purpose.
selected. Yeah, selected.
Yes.
And then Judas was selected, was he not? So
Was.
anyway, so we have 12 apostles. They end up being on a mission to promote Christianity throughout the world. And then you could be called a prophet or an evangelist, or eventually you could become a pastor of a church, pastor. And in the Catholic Church, we call them the parish priest. Then, of course, the parish is in a diocese, which is organized around a bishop. So you have a bishop. Do you see that how these religions, like the LDS Mormon Church and the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church, they are all arranged exactly the same as a military unit, company, battalion, platoon, that they have larger units and smaller units. They have a whole army of units involving apostles, missionaries, prophets, evangelists, pastors. They have to have the ward director in the LDS Church. They have to have the parish priest in the Catholic Church. And then you can also refer to them as teachers if they go into the parochial catechism classes, and you have, wards from the Mormon Church are teaching classes, or the apostle missionaries, the boys who just returned home from their missions, they're missionaries. They will end up teaching at the wards. They will teach the younger children who haven't gone on their mission yet. So you have teaching, indoctrination, priests, pastors, bishops, and apostles and prophets. That is no different than having, generals and colonels and lieutenants and sergeants and corporals and
It's incorporation. It is the secret of incorporation.
Correct. And so the leader of a church or a spiritual leader is supposed to be called one who leads or commands a group or an organization or a country. But I've already established there are no countries. There's only the 26 cantons of Switzerland. So what you're talking about is a governor of a Hunger Game district. They can operate within their authority, which is as a governor of a specific zip code district, where they are the law. They are the maritime law. They are the judge, jury, and executioner, is the governor of your prison. You do know that when the French stormed the Bastille armory in Paris to get the bayonets, to get the gunpowder, to get the rifles, to get the cannons, they weren't there to liberate the 7 prisoners and the Marquis de Sade. That was not their purpose. Their purpose was to get the weapons. That prison or armory, it's an armory, was run by a governor. They had a governor. They didn't call him the prison warden. They called him a governor. Well, that's who's going to be in charge of your Hunger Game 15-minute city. You will have a governor. It's not the mayor. It's a governor. It's a person of a higher authority than the mayor. Anyway, a leader is someone who's going to command your Hunger Game and or your, what do you call it, your strategic hamlet neighborhood. In my neighborhood, we have Neighborhood Watch, which is a bunch of ring cameras and nosy neighbors with a forum who are spying on their neighbors. Mm-hmm. That's called Neighborhood Watch. Guess what? Really? They're plugged into the sheriff's department. Fusion Center.
Really?
That Fusion Center was created during the 9/11 debacle. Really? as the ploy to introduce intervention of intelligence service agencies like CIA, KGB, Mossad, and integrating it in with your local sheriff's, county sheriff's office to spy within hamlets, within your town, neighborhood by neighborhood, using the Neighborhood Watch program, aligning that with data collection of the sheriff, who in turn shares it with these higher authority intelligence officers who may think that there is a scheme for domestic terrorism. This all was rolled out with the Department of Homeland Security to be able to interdict a conspiracy to take over your town away from Swiss bank authority, away from NATO, because Switzerland expresses itself through the military, and your sheriff is 100% using Swiss weapons, flak jackets, AR-15 rifles, electronic stun guns, electroshock treatment, and mace.
They ship them off to Israel too to train them.
And helicopters and drones. That is a NATO operation.
Yeah.
Your sheriff doesn't exist.
They send them overseas to train.
That's a Swiss Gladio team masquerading as your friendly local police. They're not. They don't work for you. You know how many times I've been told the talk to the hand signal by a sheriff's deputy? And you know what follows it when I approach them? They know I want something from them.
Yeah, I really want to know how the juxtaposition interaction goes.
It goes like this.
Do you do that?
I want to report a crime. I am not here for you. I am not here for you.
Yeah.
I go, but I have a crime, a felony crime I want to report. Because I've done that with the airplanes I had. I go, I want to report a crime. I am not here for you. I'm on another call. And I go, what am I supposed to do to report the felony crime? He goes, call 911. I go, but I'm here and you're here. And I don't see that you're doing anything. I saw you looking at your cell phone. Do you get your orders on the cell phone, or is it supposed to be on the radio? They go, I can't talk. He goes, I need to get back to my paperwork. They just blow me off. They dismiss me because they're not here for me, Josh. They're not. Well, I said, well, who are you here for? I mean, if it's not me,
what do they say?
Who?
What do they say?
Your orders. All right. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you though,
what did they say? Like, what was the answer back?
The answer is glazed eyes, and I need to get back to my paperwork. And they walk away from me, and they get in their car and they close the door and they roll the window up so I can't. Man. They turn their AC on, so like they just run, they flee. They try to look brave, but they actually look kind of cowardly.
When it's somebody. When it's somebody that they can like use physical force on, then they're
yeah. I mean, they're bullies. They like to intimidate, and they look like, I'm not going to intimidate this guy. It's going to just escalate into a shouting match. So what they do is they walk away because they know they're going to have to arrest me. So I guess I don't fit into. I'm not fitting into their quota at the time, and I believe me don't want to be arrested by one of these creeps because then you're going to be DNA.
You don't want to be
swab you and take your fingerprints, so you have 100% real ID verified in the jail. So you're screwed there. And then, but this apostolic concept of militarization. This is a military concept. A platoon is made up of a group of typically 10 to 2 dozen, typically 10 to 25 men. And this is like the apostles of Christ is a platoon. It's a platoon of missionaries. And what you should know under the apostolic theories, this dogma, it will lead very quickly to a one world governance, one world authority. It has to do with the obelisk, has to do with the chain of command, that the platoon leader sets the orders and directives for the troops. And we all agree to follow orders or else. And this is Jesus speaking to his 12 apostles this is a description of Jesus speaking to his 12 apostles, that he anoints them with the power and authority over demons and to cure disease. But look what the Jesuits have done and the Franciscans have done and the Convent of Sacred Heart and the Immaculate Heart Order have done. They've taken it away from just demons and curing diseases to mandatory jabs, mandatory vaccines, the destruction of human body autonomy, the destruction of human rights, the destruction of due process. We all need to get vaccinated. No one is safe until everyone is safe. There's a pandemic amongst the unvaccinated, which would indicate that vaccinated people are at risk because the vaccine does not work. So we all need to have something that doesn't work for us to be unified under one world authority. So it's most definitely not about vaccination, but it is about following our orders according to centralized one authority, which is actually found and rooted in the early apostolic Christian churches, that they wanted you to obey their bishop, their parish priest, their pope, or their religious leader. And now we have turned bankers into priests.
It's funny that you made that connection, because at least in the London circles, there is a term that they use, the Anglo-Saxon mission is what they call the whole thing. Some circles.
Yeah. It's a mission, all right.
Yeah, sure is. I mean, it's the same.
Control the flock, the sheep,
yeah,
until you're ready to slaughter them, right? I mean, what happens to sheep? They get led to a butcher, eventually to the slaughterhouse.
By a Judas goat.
So that's animal husbandry. You raise animals to slaughter. What's the policy for humans? Human husbandry. Same thing.
Yep.
Same policy. And
Judas
aren't all
goat,
animals traced and tagged? Don't they have like a little tag on their ear? Aren't they all 100% vaccinated? That's like mandatory vaccinations for farm animals. And all dogs at the SPCA must be chipped. Who came up with that stupid idea? Oh, in case you lose your doggy, we can find them. Okay, whatever. I don't like it.
Well, yeah, it is really, I've talked about that with you plenty of times. I've talked, honestly, with other people about that as well. The best way to view this literally is that it is, like cataloging and keeping track of livestock. That is livestock management, like not literally
sophisticated
yes.
bookkeeping system.
Mm-hmm.
You can run cryptocurrency on, and you can run central bank digital currency on the exact platform that the crypto runs on. So I'm going to do Bitcoin. I don't care. I'm going to do Wells Fargo central bank digital currency. I don't care. I'm going to do barter and exchange, and I'm going to run around my neighborhood trying to sell artwork. I don't care. I'm keeping track of your geofencing. I know where you sleep. I know where you go. I know if you're carrying things. I know if you hand it to someone and they hand you something back. I know that because I have Ring cameras and I have ultrasonic systems. I have smart meters, LED streetlights. I have drones over your head that you don't see. I have satellites above, right? So I don't care what you do. I'm tracking you, whether you participate or not.
So the idea being, 1984, the truth is whatever Big Brother says the truth is. So the goal is literally to move the truth over to the crypto ledger. That's the whole dynamic of why they're making good into bad and bad, like the inversion, because they're going to move truth over to something that they literally do control. Because once they control truth, then they control time.
Sure. And then it's all a meta universe. It's AR, VR. Right now we're in an augmented reality where there's a lot of, we're in a matrix of mendacity where the television news presenters, the news readers, they're lying 24/7. Then you go over, you run off TV over to the podcasters. 99% of them are rinse and repeating what was disseminated on the cable television. So whether they are conscripted or paid directly, or they just believe drinking the Kool-Aid by injecting their personal opinion to a fake story, a story that's mendacity, they are rinse and repeating a propaganda story, and they're drawing attention and shedding light onto a lie. So in other words, they're engaging in pacification and control, not education. That's the big distinction between your channel and my channel. We're trying to educate people. We really want to be teachers who educate. And the definition of education is not indoctrination. That's not the definition. It's to help people gain wisdom, to help people gain useful knowledge. That's what a teacher does. That's what, in my opinion, that's what a teacher does. At all Harvard University, Stanford University, University of California, Berkeley, Notre Dame, they don't do that. They don't engage in teaching. They only participate in indoctrination so that you can get a better job and get a degree and have some academic status. But they are not interested in filling your head full of wisdom or knowledge. That is not their charter. Their mission, they have a mission, is to make you an obedient slave and to disable or confuse your tenets of thinking. They don't promote self-analysis. They don't promote independent cognition. They don't want you to recognize or to interpret your spatial awareness. They don't discuss smart dust. They don't discuss the techno-enslavement weapon systems. They don't talk about it. Nobody at the Hoover Institute gives public speeches on techno-enslavement. And yet their university collects billions of dollars building techno-enslavement weapons against unarmed civilians. So who is the enemy here? Who is the enemy here? And the enemy is the prisoners in the Hunger Game are to be pacified and controlled using the best control systems available to be harvested in accordance with Geneva, Switzerland's human husbandry, anthropology, eugenics program, because you do know they will assign a expiration date on all their property. And if the people have real IDs, which is your tag as a cow, as a dairy cow, they will milk a typical Bessie dairy cow for 7 years, then send Bessie to the slaughterhouse to become hamburger meat. So 7 years, even though the cow could live 22 years, they abbreviate the production usage of a cow. They will have something like that for humans, that there's an expiration date, unless you have some special status or something, we want to extend it. But they're telling you you're going to live forever. They're going to cure cancer. Are you kidding me? They're giving people cancer. They're accelerating cancer. They're doing everything possible to murder excess herd. They're culling the herd. They're totally culling the herd every day. All right, back to you, Josh. We might be.
I was going to say, do you have any final thoughts? I think really you kind of segued into it nicely. So I really think that does it justice. I think we have a good solid foundation of where everything starts and ultimately ends at, kind of a closed loop forming its own circuit.
Yeah, I do have one thing I want to run by you, is that signs and symbols rule our world, not words, not people. And there's no such thing as papal infallibility. That's a made up thing. There's no such thing as intelligent design, no such thing as intelligent design. And so they have all of these vocabulary, vernacular terms for things to control your life. Okay, so Switzerland has no business interfering with your life, but yet they do. Because they control your sewage system, your landfill, they control your water and your breathable air. They've destroyed all of those things. Your wetlands, your lakes, your air is all polluted. Your farm animals are polluted. Your farms, your rice fields, your almond orchards are polluted. And these people are all functioning under the apostolic Christian pyramid hierarchy of control, centralized control. And everything's orbiting around the 12 apostles of Christ, which are essentially a platoon of Knights Templar soldiers who are armed with bayonets and stun guns and 9mm pistols. You know them as your sheriff and police. They're the apostles of God. And God is in Geneva, Switzerland, and Basel. And to drive the point home further, you do know that when Walt Disney, earned his stripes and was ready to step up to a nicer home with the military, because Disney Brothers Studios did business with the military to create training films and propaganda films. That's how Disney was created, was a military film company. And they moved Walt Disney to 4050 Woking Way in Griffith Park, directly below where the Hollywood sign was put up. Then he moved out and Lino LaBianca moved in. 4053 Woking Way. It's a name after a village in outside of London, Woking, the town of Woking, the village of Woking. Anyway, 4053 adds up to 12, the 12 apostles. Okay, and we know what happened to Lino. Lino got bayoneted in his mother's house. This is a big mansion. It's like 8,000 square foot home, 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a film studio, a tennis court. Anyway, then Walt was moved over to 355 Carrollwood Drive in Holmby Hills, Benedict Canyon. That's a number 13 house. It was 33,000 square foot home, 33,000, plus a railroad track named after his brother Roy. His older brother Roy, who really did all the heavy lifting at Disney, was Roy Disney. Roy Disney ran Disney, not Walt. Walt did not run Disney. His older brother and his uncle Robert ran Disney. All right, then we have the Bohemian Club in San Francisco. Their street address near Union Square with our obelisk. We have an obelisk right across the street from the Bohemian Club and the Olympic Club, 624 Taylor Street. Well, those numbers add up to 12. That's the apostles, right? 3333 is the number of apostles orbiting around Jesus. Then the 3 primary buildings in downtown financial district San Francisco are the Transamerica Pyramid, and that is at 600 Montgomery Street, okay? And 600 Montgomery Street is 33. Then the next one that's historically important is the tallest building in San Francisco not to collapse during the 1906 earthquake was the Merchants Exchange Building located at 465 California Street. That adds up to 15. 15 is 1 plus 5. 1 plus 5 is 6, 33. Then across the street, across Montgomery Street, on California, is the Bank of America World Headquarters with the black rock, the black stone on the corner of Kearny and California Street. The street address 555 California Street. That's a 15. That's a 1 plus 5 is 6, 33. And the address for Disneyland in Anaheim, Orange County, where the 1955 Ronald Reagan and Art Linklater opened Disneyland in the summer, July 1955. They opened Disneyland at 1313 Disneyland Drive. When you repeat a number, you emphasize it. So 13 is unity amongst Masons. The only place you can get alcohol at Disneyland is Club 33, if you're a member of Club 33. Okay, so they do have a celebration there at Disneyland. They fly the American flag with 13 stripes. They do that right at the base of Main Street, USA. And do you know, if you walk from the 13 striped American flag and you walk north on Main Street, do you know where you end up, Josh? The Matterhorn. Well, the last I checked, the Matterhorn is in Switzerland. So where does Main Street, USA take you? If you go from the flag where you pledge your allegiance, you go to Switzerland. So I don't know how much simpler they can make it for the children.
That's nice. I like that one.
But Disneyland is the template to Geneva, Switzerland.
That reminds me.
I give up. I don't know what else to say.
That reminds me, the whole idea, the ecumenism, the apostolic church.
Right.
It is, the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Follow the leader who has a dream.
Right.
Club that's made for you and me. It's like join the club. Like follow the leader. It is the same template. That's exactly the case. But did you know the reason that 13 and 12 are connected is because 12 apostles plus Jesus is the 13. They're 13.
Right. And the United States central banking system is called the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank, right? We have 12 districts. And then we have the headquarters in Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. That is the 13th.
That's what I figured.
And they have 12 directors. They have 12 board of directors of the Fed in Washington, D.C. That's the same as the apostles. They have 12. 7 are considered governors of the bank, and 5 are considered board members. Or they're also known as presidents. So they have 5 presidents, and they have 7 governors. Adds up to 12 apostles. And they report to Basel, Switzerland, to that glass and steel building that you showed. So the president of the United States who appoints the governors, their term is 14 years, which exceeds the term of a president, which is only 4 years. That you give 14 years to a banker, and the banker reports to Switzerland. So they take no orders from Donald Trump. They take their orders from Swiss Bank Authority in Basel or Geneva. That's who runs the Fed bank.
So with all that said, there was something I'm going to play us out with. Do you have any last questions or anything?
That's good.
So, all right, guys, we're going to play this song from 1990, early 1990s, and just see how accurate it is. Take care, everybody.
As his plan for replacing cash, checks, and credit cards with new personalized 666 barcode system were implemented, peace and order began to be re-established. Now, in tonight's program, our great world leader unveils Stage 2 of his plan for the perfect world. The amazing new 666 biochip implant, guaranteeing you physical health and spiritual well-being at the punch of a computer key, plus the guarantee of lifelong security within the new 666 world order.
Watch out for 666. Watch out for 666. In a vision of the future, I saw in a vivid dream that the hour is soon coming when men will become machines. A new one world order will rise and then demand that all the world's people receive their scientific brand. I saw a tiny pre-programmed computer chip so thin, implanted Thank you.